Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 modding video. Today we're checking out yet another individual mod released by myself and Pig. This is going to be yet another brand new weapon mod added into the Commonwealth, and today we're checking out a new heavy pistol, a revolver in fact, and that's going to be the 44 Auto-Revolver, at least that's how we named it in-game. This is going to represent the real-life Mateba Unica 6, a very unique and very funky revolver. Now in real life this thing is wild. It is an auto-revolver that has a functioning slide. So even though it does operate with a cylinder like a traditional revolver, it actually reciprocates and loads in the next round. It's super, super weird, very cool, even has more moving parts than a standard semi-auto pistol, but it's very, very neat and very expensive. That being said, I think this design is awesome. It's something I've always wanted in Fallout 4. I think there is actually a Mateba mod out there somewhere, but I did want to make my own with a bunch of attachments, tons of customization, and of course, a few uniques. Ever since seeing this thing for the first time actually in a Fallout New Vegas series by Gopher years and years ago, I have wanted this thing, and now we have a mod for it in Fallout 4, again with tons and tons of features. Now, to be specific, our mod comes with over 30 new attachments, which is quite a lot for a revolver. Custom models and textures, of course, everything made from scratch by me, and then some custom animations thanks to the wonderful Cadaver with Shimsham's F4 and V44 mod. We actually took those and tweaked them a little bit to fit our design, and now we have a new set of animations that are perfect for this guy. Better than the vanilla 44 animations by a long shot. Of course, since it is one of my mods, this thing is going to be integrated into the world, and that means a couple of things. First of all, it will be integrated into the leveled list, so you'll be able to find this on enemies. This thing being such a unique revolver only spawns on raider bosses, not any old raider, and also gunners after level 22, a pretty high level revolver. And that is because this thing is intended to be used at a high level. It has the same damage as the vanilla 44 revolver if you're using my balancing. However, since it doesn't have to worry about single action or actually cocking the hammer manually, this thing can fire as fast as you click, but it is still going to be bound to 6 shots before you need to reload. So very similar to the vanilla 44, but it does have a huge advantage in terms of rate of fire. Back to integration though, as I said, this thing is added to the level list, but also there's a couple of uniques that you can find out in the world on top of that, each offering their own unique aesthetic and abilities that make them very, very special and different from the vanilla version of this gun. In total, that makes a fully complete new revolver mod, but that doesn't stop there. We have a ton of details to talk about, including its stats, animations, and all the fun stuff that you can see over at the weapons workbench. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop in-game and start checking out some of those finer details. We'll go ahead and start off with its stats. So for starters, we'll be checking out the regular version of the 44 Auto-Revolver with some of its base attachments here. This thing is going to have a base damage of 44, so ignore the 88. As always, I have some perks on. It has a base damage of 44, uses 44 rounds, meaning no munitions required this time. Fire rate of 66, a range of 125, an accuracy of 51, a weight of 3.8 pounds, and a value of 97 caps. And while we're here talking about its stats and its ammo type, I will address one thing that was already asked once on the mod page before anybody tries to ask it here in the YouTube comments. It does use 44 Magnum instead of 357. This thing is really commonly chambered in 357, but it actually comes in a handful of chamberings, including 44 Magnum, and that's what I wanted personally, because I wanted this to be a big, beefy revolver, and I wanted it to be stronger than the vanilla one, so that's why I opted for 44 over 357, and it also drops that munitions requirement. But like I said, this thing comes in a bunch of different calibers. 44, 451, I believe, which is really strange, and then 357 and a couple others. So 44 is what I opted for. I wanted this thing to be big and beefy, and when you see the animations, you'll pretty much understand why. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and check those out now. So here we are in-game with the revolver in first person, and I have to say I really, really like how this thing looks in first person. It's big and beefy, and this is just a snub barrel. This thing actually gets much longer and much bigger with different attachments. We'll also be doing an accuracy test, but you'll have to ignore that all my targets seem to have scorch marks on them. That's my bad doing some testing with some other stuff. But first, let's go ahead and check out the reload on this thing. Very, very nice animations thanks to Cadaver and Shim's 44. Now then, when it comes to accuracy, this thing is pretty dang accurate, especially after we fixed the animation issues that we had from Cadaver's animation set. It would seem to be firing as the barrel was climbing, but I think we may have fixed that now, so it should hit every single target here without any issues. This thing is a pretty accurate little hand cannon here. Even the smallest one there. Oh, we did miss. Darn. But that was my fault. That wasn't really the gun's fault. As you can see, pretty dang accurate, and you can of course throw on scopes as well if you want to get an even bigger boost in your accuracy. Now then, of course, I do want to show off some of the uniques in this mod, starting off with Serenity, which has its own little attachment here, a custom barrel based on the one from Serenity. And this thing is going to have an electrical effect. It adds 15 points of electrical damage that can shock enemies. I really like how this thing looks. It looks super Fallout, in my opinion. The little greeblies here that look very similar to, say, the Fallout 3 style 10mm, plus the two-tone grip looks super cool. This one is really neat, and if you want to get your hands on it, it can be found over in the Sandy Cove's Convalescent Home, where you can find the magazine in that location. But while we're here, I also want to talk about the fact that it has some custom projectiles as well. So when you hit things, it actually ignites blue for that little electrical effect, which is super cool. The projectile itself is still a standard bullet, but when you do interact with objects, when the bullet actually hits them, it has nice little sparks, which I think is super cool. So thanks to Pig for making that happen. But we do have one other unique to talk about, and that is El Diablo, which is going to set targets on fire for 15 points of damage. This thing has a nice custom flames paint job that is inverted, so the paint is actually on the rear side here, and the metal is the flames, which I think is really neat and very unique for this design. This thing's really fun. It's a pretty simple one. It's just an incendiary revolver. I mean, we have that in the base game, but this one does have, again, a nice paint job with it. If you want to get your hands on this one, you can find it over in College Square Station. There is a room in that location that is filled with ghouls, and that is where this unique can be found. Almost forgot to mention that much like the last one, it actually has custom hit effects as well. So whenever it does hit the ground, it leaves a nice little trail of fire, which is super fun. Incendiary bullets are always really cool. Now then, it is of course time to talk about the attachments over at the weapons workbench, where we have a lot of stuff going on. Starting off with the receiver section, we have standard all the way up through advanced. It actually has more available options than the standard vanilla revolver, as there are some different variations. I believe the vanilla one only has 4 receivers, whereas ours has a total of about 8, which is pretty nice. Of course, advanced being the best option, increasing your damage by double the standard. Then for barrels, we have the option for a snub-nose barrel, a light snub-nose barrel, a light short barrel, and a short barrel, a medium barrel, and a light medium barrel, a long barrel, and a long light barrel, offering the biggest and coolest barrel for this setup. Then for grips, we have the option for the standard grip, which is wood, the light grip, which is plastic, and the comfort grip, which is two-tone, which I think looks really cool. When I saw this on a real-life Mateba, I really wanted to recreate it for this mod, and I have to say, I think it has super cool Fallout aesthetic. For sights, we have the standard iron sights. We, of course, also have glow sights, which is a really fun way to run this gun. We've got the hollow sight option as well, a reflex sight, a short scope, and a medium scope. So if you do want to snipe with this thing, you can, if you think you need a little pocket hand cannon sniper. Then we actually do have muzzle devices, where we have the option for no muzzle, a compensator, which is the stereotypical compensator for the Mateba. We also have a new custom muzzle brake, which I think looks really neat, and a brand new modeled suppressor as well, which has some very interesting designs to it. I think this looks super cool and really fits the profile of this gun. And then finally, we do have an accessory section where you can throw on a flashlight, a laser, or a VATS targeting module like we've been putting on all of our guns, and those are mounted to the right side of the gun. So it's a very interesting style. It's not really the best way to mount something to a pistol like this, but it is pretty funny, and it's there if you want it. I personally wouldn't use any of this, but it is there if you want a flashlight on your big revolver. It'll probably look even better with bigger barrels, as that node is not going to move, so the barrel will actually extend past the flashlight on those, which might be a little bit nicer. But yeah, guys, I think that covers just about everything in the Mateba Unica 6 mod, better known as the 44 Auto-Revolver. If you'd like to try this thing out for yourself, it is, as always, linked down in the description below. You can grab it over on Nexus, and I believe there's already an Xbox port of this one up, so you can grab it there as well. With that, as always, I hope you guys enjoyed the mod and enjoyed the video. If you did, consider dropping an endorsement or a like respectively. It really helps out the content and gets it out to more people. Additionally, if you'd like to support my work directly, you can do so using the link down in the description to do so on Patreon. But as always, it is completely optional, not something that's required, just there if you're into donating. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace!